Good morning. I'm Harley Schlanger from the LaRouche Organization with your daily video update for July 28th, 2025. Look, I've got an important message for you today, which is don't fall for the lines that are coming out to undermine the importance of the declassification of security documents by Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence. What we're seeing is an attempt to make the so-called deep state accountable. And the deep state, of course, is the bureaucratic implants, that is the permanent bureaucracy that's directed by the global financial, banking, and corporate establishment. And they're trying to run the United States as a unipolar order. And the part of that was the Russiagate. Remember, what was the purpose of Russiagate? It was to prevent a friendship between the United States and Russia during Donald Trump's first term, to muddy the waters, to weaken Russia. And it directly led to the Ukraine war, which is continuing. Now, some of you are aware of the line that's out there about why Gabbard's report is a fraud or it shouldn't be carried out. Let me just go through these arguments quickly. The neocons in both parties are trying to defend Russiagate because they support the idea of a confrontation with Russia and with China. Secondly, the line, it's an old story. Well, yes, it is an old story, but it's also a true story and one which has shaped U.S. policy to the detriment of the American people. The argument that it's already settled, that the evidence is there that shows that there was Russian interference, meddling, hacking, and so on, it's all a lie. And it's being exposed by reports from the intelligence community itself. The argument that you shouldn't go after Obama because the Supreme Court has already ruled the president can do whatever he wants. Well, the issue is bigger than Obama. But the fact is, if a president is committing crimes, the question of whether those crimes should be buried or exposed is an important one. And then finally, that it's a distraction from the Epstein files. Look, the Epstein files are part of the same process. The Epstein operation has connections to intelligence, including British intelligence, and has to be investigated thoroughly, as does Russiagate. Now, there were confirmation hearings for Gabbard and Kash Patel between January 30th and then their confirmation on February 10th. And what the LaRouche Organization did was put out a 14-page report on the Liars Bureau, who it was that was targeting her confirmation, trying to keep her out. And many of you may have seen it. What we showed is that we exposed the nonstop attacks that were based on a fraudulent, fabricated narrative. Now, the purpose of this narrative was to remove or weaken Trump by falsely claiming he was elected as a puppet of Vladimir Putin as a result of election meddling. And in that report, we exposed the lies from the same network that goes back to the Iraq War and the weapons of mass destruction hoax. In fact, it goes back to the end of World War II. And what we had been exposing was the origin of these lies. And the origin is still hidden. The elephant in the room is the British connection. And our unique historical perspective is our understanding of the subversive role of the British establishment in co-opting, after World War I, an American establishment as a global bankers elite to control the world. Now, in terms of the Russiagate, just 2 points that are worth noting. Before Trump's nomination or inauguration in January 2017, the British publication Spectator had a story about whether or not Trump would be assassinated. And that reflected the view of some of the Brits that he had to be kept out of the White House. This was followed up in December 2018 by a House of Lords report, which said that if Trump is reelected, it will end the special relationship. And the special relationship is the way in which British intelligence and establishment, the integrated banking and drug networks, the cartels, controls U.S. policy. Now, we have a historic perspective on this developed by Lyndon LaRouche to understand how, from the time of the success of the American Revolution to the present, there's been an effort coming from the City of London to destroy the influence of the American Revolution. Now, on this, the role of the British are key. Now, there is a deep state. That's the permanent bureaucracy. It's in intelligence, State Department, diplomacy. It has control of the media, the think tanks, and so on. And it serves this global banking, financial, corporate cartel. But this is the same network that ran Russiagate as is behind the Epstein case, as we will point out in the new white paper we're putting out. The question is, how does the establishment maintain control? And once you understand this, you'll probably never fall again for these lines such as, well, the Gabbard revelations are designed to distract from the Epstein files. They're the same issue. We have to get these networks hands off the control of the American people's future. Now, this is crucial because there are battles taking place right now that have the potential to overturn the power of this establishment. The whole question of the UN taking up the idea of recognizing a Palestinian state and a two-state solution. This is on the agenda today at the UN, July 28th and 29th, a two-state solution. It will be an issue going into the UN General Assembly in September. And we have to intervene with the solution. The solution is the idea of the Oasis Plan, of an economic policy for mutual benefit. That's the only way to solve this. And it means we have to stop arming the crazies in the Netanyahu regime who are carrying out genocide. Now, it's worth noting that in the Israeli press, finally, there's an open discussion, at least in some of the press, of the genocide that's being committed against the Palestinian people. And this is significant because the attempt to maintain the Israeli public as apathetic or supporting the genocide is a key part of the whole control of the narrative. And the fact that it's finally being said by especially columnist Gideon Levy, but many others in the Haaretz, and now even in the Times of Israel, exposing the deliberate starvation as a policy which is an ethnic cleansing that would be, that's a genocide. And comparing it to the Nazi genocide is crucial to shake up the Israeli population and the American population. So we have an opening now to overturn it with the hearings at the United Nations and the whole mobilization internationally. The United States must come out on the side of the global majority against the genocide in Gaza and to take power away from the private operations that have controlled U.S. intelligence since the end of World War II. And this will be the subject of a white paper that the LaRouche Organization is producing. The U.S. is the most important country in terms of overturning this because right now the U.S., under Biden and under Obama before that, and unfortunately still there are people in the Trump administration who want to continue that, such as Lindsey Graham, such as Tom Cotton, that we have to clean those networks out so that the United States can assume its role as the principal nation committed to mutual beneficial economic development. That's the historic role of the American government. And so it means we have to put an end to the narrative control, the censorship, the diversion. It means we have to speak with a clear voice. And that's the purpose of the white paper we're putting out. So I'll be linking the original Liars Bureau report to today's description box and look for it in the next few days the updated report on who's trying to sabotage the investigation of the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. So stay tuned, sign up to get the daily alert from the Executive Intelligence Review. Be a voice for the traditions of the American Revolution.